Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the class. So, without wasting our time, we will continue the discussion. Last class, we were discussing exogenic force. What do you mean by exogenic force? Exogenic force. Yeah, the force which occurs on the Earth's surface. The force which occurs on the Earth's surface is called as exogenic force. So here, because of this exogenic force, means like what are the main things, or what causes, means what these exogenic forces makes changes. What are those processes, or what are those things get under, or what are those factors happens because of this exogenic force? Because of exogenic force, like air, wind, and water, these are the agent of a force. These are the factors which causes for the force. Because of this force, the two important things happens on the surface. One is weathering, erosion, and deposition. Mainly three: weathering, erosion, deposition. We discussed about that in the last lesson: weathering, erosion, and the deposition. Weathering is nothing but piece of rock. Means like getting pieces. Means like the pieces when the rock gets under high temperature, low temperature, and the air, wind, when it contact with all those things, the rock gets pieces. It gets into small pieces. It gets cracks. It's called as weathering. That eroded sediments will be carried by the run of water, wind, and air, and it will be deposited. Means it will be put in some other shallow areas or valley or slope areas. It's called as a deposition. So now we will discuss the agent of erosions or the agent of force. So we are discussing among the exogenic force. In exogenic force, we have many forces, as like an endogenic. We have example of volcano, earthquake, landslide. Same like that, in the exogenic force, we have many examples. The first is about water, work of water. Work of water. So here the water, mainly whatever the landforms we have on the surface, it's undergoing change. It's under changes. Earlier, this place might have having the land, a big landmass like a mountain and hill. Earlier, suppose the sand dunes. So after thousands of years, this place will not be having the same things because of this exogenic force. Here, consider, suppose it's a hill areas. We have in one place we have a hill. After thousands of years, will it be having the same size or same position or same structure of a land in the same places in this place? No, it will not be having the same position. Also, like it will not be having the same size or a structure of a landform in this place because of this exogenic force on the Earth's surface. Due to the wind and the runoff water and due to the sea water and all those things, it gets under the changes. So here the water. Water is the main thing which causes or which is a reason for having a changes on the Earth's surface. Water, the work of water. So we are discussing work of water. So this water and its work, like a flowing water, it makes many changes. So it's a work. The water it's flowing, that means it's doing work. It's under action. Water is flowing like a river water. It's a flowing, isn't it? So it makes some changes. Mainly the work of water is we are discussing in related with the river. In the river we have three courses, three levels. You know that rivers that originates in the high altitude area, in the highlands, means in the uplands that originates, means that gets the water and that flows towards the slopy areas and that connects into the ocean and sea at last, is not? It's a water, what was the river. So this river has been divided into three levels, three stages: upper stage, middle stage and this lower stage. There are three stages in the water. So this river water that originates here in the up areas, hilly regions, because suppose this area is prevented by the rain, the precipitation of the rain. Then what happens? So this water that runs towards southern areas, that means slopy areas. So wherever the areas are sloped in this, from there it moves towards slopy areas. So suppose it continues for thousands of years, hundreds of years, then that creates its own path. ಇದು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದೇ ಕಡೆ ಹರಿತಾ ಇದೆ, ಸ್ಲೋಪ್ ಏರಿಯಾ ಕಡೆ ಹರಿತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಅದರದೇ ಆದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ದಾರಿನ ಕಂಡುಹಿಡಿಯುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದರದೇ ಆದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಎರೋಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದರದೇ ಆದಂತಹ ದಾರಿ ರೂಟ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ದೇರ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಹಿಲ್, ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಕ್ಯಾರಿಡ್. ಸಪೋಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೌಂಟೇನ್, ಈ ಮೌಂಟೇನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಳೆ ಬಂತು, ಮಳೆ ಬಂದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ನೀರುಗಳು ಒಂದೇ ಕಡೆ ಹರಿಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ, ಸ್ಲೋಪ್ ಇರೋ ಕಡೆ. So while it is moving towards the slopy areas, the water that moves in a like a downslope areas, here with a continuous process of moving in the same path, the materials are, whatever the materials are there here, it will be eroded. These materials will be eroded, means sediments, piece of rock, the sand and the soil will be eroded, means it will be taken away by the water, the flowing of water, and it will be deposited here. Means it will be gathered, it will be put down here in the slopy areas. Now it will become the shallow, it's not, it will become halla, is it not? So it will create a path. So now the process, it goes under the process of erosion and deposition. Is that clear? So here, if the same process continues, these some portions of these mountain will be having chance of getting erosion. Then afterwards, some thousands and hundreds of years, the mountain will form like this. Then this all the forms will be eroded here, and then it gets a new landforms. So in this work of river, we can get a new landforms. It creates a new landforms. So it is a first level or first stage where the erosion takes place. Much erosion takes place here. Means it will carry the sediments. It take the sediments along with the materials. And sediments will be carried by this water along with this first stage. Then it will be deposited in the second stage, and that creates a landforms. So whatever the sediments are carried by this water, it will be kept in the basin of this outer space. Here, due to the same movement, suppose it's like this. After hundreds and thousands of years, it turns, means it changes its way like this. Suppose here we have the water. We are discussing about the second stage here. So I am taking part of the second stage. It's moving like this. Suppose it's a structure of a water where we can find here. Why it moves like in zigzag way? Why the river water that moves in zigzag like this? Why not that moves very straight exactly? Why? Because the landform is not plain everywhere. It's not sloped exactly in everywhere. It's not. We have different landforms. We have undulations in the land. We have changes. Some other areas we have uplands, and as you go somewhat 5 meters, 3 meters, it's somewhat slopy areas. It's not. It's not having completely plain lands. That's the reason water that flows towards the slopy areas. Might be some slopy areas, and here then that finds the slopy areas. ಹಳ್ಳ ಯಾವ ಕಡೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಆ ಕಡೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಹರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ನದಿ ನೀರು ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಭೂಮಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಒಂದೇ, ಈಗ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ನೆಲ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಮನೆ ಕಟ್ಟಿದಾಗ ನೆಲ ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ಇರಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್, and we have some areas which is some sand dunes and upland and lowlands. So that reason we have a difference. We have this zigzag way movement of water. So here, suppose it is continuously moving in the path. We call it as a river water stream path. Here, the water that continuously moves and it works because of the velocity of water, because of the speed of water. This erodes this portion. The speed of water that erodes this portion, and it will be extended further. This border will be extended further. Then, after having hitting this boundary, it turns again this side. The water means it returns back like this. Then again, it will move. After same process happens in every corner, and it extends like this. Again, it moves towards the slopey areas, and again, so that's the reason. So when it was earlier, before thousands of years, it was like this. Now it takes these positions like some more curve because of the work of water. So by having this all the curves, it creates many landforms. Like it's a river. Suppose this area, the mountainous area, it's prevailed by high rainfall. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಳೆ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಳೆ ಆಯಿತು. ಮಳೆ ಆದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? Velocity and the amount of water will be more here in the river. ಈ ನದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ನೀರು ಬರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರುವಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅವಾಗ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೀರು ಬಂದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಜಾಗ ಎರಡಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಎರೋಷನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಇದು 1 ವರ್ಷ, 2 ವರ್ಷ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ, 5 ವರ್ಷ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ, 10 ವರ್ಷ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಎರಡಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಆಗ ನದಿ ನೀರು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅದು 10 ವರ್ಷ, 15, 20 ವರ್ಷ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ನದಿ ನೀರು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಮೇನ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ಗೆ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಟರ್ನ್ ಆಗ್ತಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಟರ್ನ್ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸ್ಪೀಡ್ ಆಫ್ ವಾಟರ್ ದಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಮೇನ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್. Earlier it was a path, it was moving like this. Earlier the river it was moving like this. Now because of the speed it has eroded. Erosion antandre enu? Removal of particle. So because of the speed of this water, this portion is removed. Now the water is connected into the main stream, main river here. It's flowing now. Then it will be disconnected. Illige connect agilla, matte ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಒಂದ್ಸರಿ ಮೇನ್ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂದರೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಇನ್ನಾಗಿ ಸುತ್ತಾಕೊಂಡು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಯಾಕೆ ಸುತ್ತಾಕ್ಬೇಕು? ನಾನು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಪಾತ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕನೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ರಿಮೈನಿಂಗ್. ದ ವಾಟರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ರಿಮೈನ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಸಮ್ ನಾಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ರಿವರ್ it will become like this. Means directly the river will connects. The portion which is earlier it was part of a river but not now. It's called as Oxbow Lake. ಇದೊಂದು ಲೇಕ್, ಸರೋವರ. ಇದೊಂದು ಸರೋವರ ತರ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ದೊಡ್ಡ ಕೆರೆ ತರ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಮೊದಲಿಗೆ ನದಿ, ಆದ್ರೆ ಇವಾಗ ನದಿ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಕೆರೆ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕೆರೆ ಸರೋವರದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ, ವಾಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ಕೆರೆ ಸರೋವರಗಳು. ನದಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ವಾಟರ್. ಹಿಯರ್ it was a part of a river but not now because it is not connected, it is disconnected. So this type of things can be seen in the second stage. So now it is directly connected. This river, this portion is eroded and it is directly connected now. And these divisions or this river part, it's disconnected and it will become its own the lake. So we can see such a lakes in the second what do you call the stage. Then it's a one of a landforms. Then another landforms which you can see in this is about the meanders. Here it's a river. When the water that moves with a high velocity, it will be eroded. These things will be eroded and it will be deposited here. ಇಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಮಣ್ಣುಗಳನ್ನ ಈ ನದಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ನೀರು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಬಾರ್ಡರ್ಗೆ ಅಥವಾ ಈ ಒಂದು ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್, ಈ ಒಂದು ರಿವರ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಗೆ ಹಿಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಅಂದರೆ when it hits this river bank, it will be eroded. The particles which erodes here, the particles which is removed here, it will be deposited in this place. Same like the particle which is eroded here, it will be deposited here. Means it will be deposited in these curves. In this curve, it will be deposited. So it's called as meanders. It's a new deposition. Adenant kartiri meanders. So here we will get a different sub-rivers. The sub-rivers will be joined into these main rivers from these high areas or high altitude areas. So it's called as tributaries. Sub-river. This is main river. Main river is the sub-river. ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಸಣ್ಣ ನದಿಗಳು ಅಲ್ವಾ ಸಣ್ಣ ಪುಟ್ಟ ನದಿಗಳು ಉಪನದಿಗಳು ಅದನ್ನ ಏನಂತ ಕರೀತೀವಿ tributaries. In English we call it as tributaries. Then before discharging its water into the sea and ocean, ಇದು sea ಸಮುದ್ರ ಅಥವಾ ಸಾಗರ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಎಲ್ಲ ನದಿಗಳು ಸಮುದ್ರ ಅಥವಾ ಸಾಗರನ ಸೇರಲೇಬೇಕು. ಇದು ನೋಡಿ. So here before discharging its water, it creates the distributaries. ಇದು tributaries. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಉಪನದಿಗಳು it connects into the main river. Then when it goes near to the sea and ocean, near the beach, it distributes. It distributes, so it's called distributaries. Why it divides into small pieces, small streams of river? Because here the plain area will be there. Here in the top we have a slope, so that reason that moves in the same stream. We have a highlands over here, uplands, so that there from the top it moves in the same stream. As it goes through the plain, it distributes. This note. ಇವಾಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಫ್ಲೋರ್ ಮೇಲೆ ನೆಲದ ಮೇಲೆ ನೀರು ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಯಾವ ಕಡೆ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಏರಿಯಾ ಒಂದು ನೆಲದ ಮೇಲೆ ಈ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಫ್ಲೋರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಈ ಫ್ಲೋರ್ ಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ನೀರನ್ನ ಪೋರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನೀರು ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಯಾವ ಕಡೆ ಬೇಕು ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಇಟ್ ಗೋಸ್ ಇನ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಬಟ್ ಸಪೋಸ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಇನ್ ಅ ಸ್ಲೋಪಿ ಏರಿಯಾ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಲೋಪ್ ಏರಿಯಾಗೆ ಹೋದ್ರಿ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಲೋಪ್ ಏರಿಯಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಲೋಪ್ ಏರಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮೇಲೆ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ಬಕೆಟ್ ನೀರು ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಒಂದೇ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಮೇಲೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಈಗ ನೀರು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಉಲ್ಟೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ನೀರು ಇಲ್ಲ ದಟ್ ಮೂವ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಸೇಮ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ದ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಯಾವ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಸ್ಲೋಪ್ ಇರೋ ಕಡೆ ಯಾವ್ದು ಇಳಿಜಾರಿದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಸೇಮ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್ ಇಯರ್ ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಹೈಟ್ ಇದೆ ಸೊ ಇಳಿಜಾರ ಕಡೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ So as this river goes towards this coastal area, here in these areas we have flat surface. So flat surface, because of the flat surface, this main river distributes mainly in these areas. We call it as a deltas. Is that clear? Right now, work of river, the main topic. Work of river water creates many landforms by its erosion and deposition activities. Then you have to draw this picture. It has divided into 3 stages. It's the first stage, and here we have third stage, sorry, second and third stage. In first stage, velocity is, what do you mean by velocity? The speed of water in the river is very high. Here the speed of water in the river is very high because it's having steep slope. Right. The river bed turns into soft rock from hard. The force of water, running water, erodes and creates falls. So it is called waterfall. In the first stage, the speed of water will be very high. The speed of water will be high. What is the reason? Because of the slope and the river bed. River bed is the bottom of river. Bottom of river is river bed. So the river bed that turns into soft rock from the hard rock. So here in the bottom, means like the crust, we have 2 types of rock: soft rock and hard rock. ಗಟ್ಟಿಯಾಗಿರತಕ್ಕಂತ ಕಲ್ಲುಗಳು ಮತ್ತೆ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರತಕ್ಕಂತ ಮೃದುವಾಗಿರತಕ್ಕಂತ ಕಲ್ಲುಗಳು ಇರ್ತವೆ. So here when this river water flows on both the hard rock and soft rock, the soft rock will be eroded. So because of the movement or the force of water, the soft rock will be eroded. So by eroding, it creates the falls. It's called as waterfall. Which is highest waterfall in India? Jog Falls. Is it not? Jog Falls is the highest waterfall in India. Then in the world? In the world, Angel. Angel is the highest waterfall in the world, which is there in the southern America, South America, in the Brazil. And you know about the Niagara Falls, Victoria Falls. These are the important, big and largest and tallest falls in the world. In India, the Jog Falls is the tallest or highest fall in India. Is it over? Huh?
Divided spring rocks.
What is that?
Divided into 3 stages.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. We are discussing the first stage. Here, the 2 points we discussed. One is the velocity, the speed of water in the river. It will be very high. Then it creates a waterfall. Then it causes, it erodes. The materials from the mountains. Then in the second stage, so eroded materials from first stage will be deposited in second stage. Means here the materials in the first stage will be eroded in the mountain. Whatever the materials are there, whatever the sediments are there, it will be eroded. It will be carried by the run of water and it will be deposited here. The deposition takes place in the second stage. Then the cutoff river stream creates Oxbow Lake. So deposition in the in the bank of river on corners is called meanders. Here, so as I told, suppose it's a river. Due to the high velocity and the more amount of water, it erodes these areas, and after 10 and 20 years, this main river connects into this. This river directly connected to this river because of deposition, because of the speed of water. Then this area will be disconnected, and this portion will be remained with the sum of water. It's called as Oxbow Lake. It's a Oxbow Lake. Then in some other rivers, in some other portions, the same river, otherwise in some other rivers. So it's a river. So this river, the flowing of water that erodes the material here, then deposits in this part. It erodes the materials and deposits here. So it's called as meanders. This landforms is called as meanders. So these meanders and Oxbow lakes are found in these areas in the second stage. Is that clear? Okay, now we'll discuss about the third stage in the work of river. So that's what this work of river, the movement of water that changes, that makes changes in the landforms. The speed of water gets slow in third stage due to flat surface or flat slope or flat surface. So before discharging its water, then deposition here in the meanders, before the water discharging its water into the ocean and sea, it creates this distributaries. This distributaries is having more deposition of sediments, and like alluvial soils are found over here. Whatever the materials eroded in the first and second, it will be deposited in the second some part. So due to the high speed of water, it will further eroded and it will be deposited in this place. It's called as delta. So it creates distributaries. That main river divides into many divisions. Main river divides into many divisions or many unequal divisions. It divides into many divisions or it gets many parts before discharging its water into sea or ocean. Is called delta. So this delta also called as river mouth. The main river divides into many divisions. It divides into many divisions before discharging water into the sea. So here it's called as the delta. More depositional activity takes place in third stage, because the speed of water will be less. So that reason, whatever the materials carried in the first and second stage, it will be deposited in the third stage. So here we can see the waterfall. The landforms like waterfall, we can get a waterfall here. Waterfall, then erosion, here oxbow lake, and meanders, we call it as a delta, and it is a sea or ocean. We call this as a sub-river or as tributaries. Write on the draw the diagram and write on these points. Is it work? Draw the diagram and write the points here.